bars. So, how does this radicalization happen? Is Western foreign policy really to blame, or is it, as some people would suggest, just an excuse? Well, let's ask Noman Benotman, a former jihadist who was once so close to Al-Qaeda, even to Osama bin Laden himself. Just how close, out of interest?
Sorry?
How close to Osama bin Laden were you?
Not that close. We met each other many times, but not that close. You know, I used to act based on the LIFG agenda.
But you did fight alongside him in Afghanistan, am I right in saying that?
Yeah, it's when you are acting in any jihadi group, definitely there's cooperation. There's we exchange benefits, if you like, training, sometimes funding, logistic issues. It's of course, you know, it's during the old period, you know, the jihad against the Soviet Union.
All right, I feel like you may be being slightly modest here to a certain extent, because back in 2000 you were opposed to the global jihad that he was planning, I know, in the United States at the time, and you had a chance to voice your opinions to him. What did he say? What happened?
Yeah, at the time, you know, the summer of 2000 in Kandahar, I was clear, you know, it's the outcomes of the jihadi movement. It's a total failure, not at the global level only, but even at the national level, because first of all, the jihadi movement, it starts as a national movement to establish an Islamic State in every single Middle Eastern country. This is the original plan, you know, before the Al-Qaeda and bin Laden, they take it to the next level, will start to be like a global jihad. So I told them it's a total failure, and we need to consider other approaches or other means to start to talk to the people. And for me and all of them, they agree with me, you know, the jihadi movement failed to recruit people, to mobilize people.
He didn't, though, agree with you, and the rest is history, of course, because some months later we saw the effect of his global jihad against the US, which, of course, was the 9/11 attacks. Who is to blame, do you think, for the radicalization of youth a decade on from 9/11?
Well, I think there's many. It's a very big question, you know, but we can make some points about it. It's very wide question. I think, first of all, I would like to be honest, you know, I think something has to do with the culture itself, you know, in the Middle East. This is my understanding of this, and I have experienced more than 22 years. I think it has to do with the culture itself, the environment in the Middle East, because I would like to say here, the guys you mentioned, Zazi or Shahzad or Nizal, you know, all of them newcomers to the jihadi scene, and they are victims of their own thoughts, because they don't know exactly who set up the scene for them, who built the framework. It's here we talk about 1% of the jihadi movement, which they are the leaders. The leaders, they don't care a lot about the international relations or whatever. And if you would like to give you an example, when bin Laden and al-Zawahiri, they used to fight against the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, they were very happy about the US support. So here, international relations at the time, which is about more than 10 years, it was okay for them. So it's something else here, which is the ideological religious agenda.
Well, that's important to understand. I mean, yourself were a part of a terrorist movement in Libya for many, many years. And as we've suggested, you've played your part in what was a sort of jihad being waged against the West, but not the global jihad, as we've suggested, that Osama bin Laden waged against the US. We are talking here about the radicalization of not just Muslim youth. I want our viewers to be clear about this, of youth of any ideology or faith. What can be done in 2010 to stop this radicalization?
Well, as you mentioned, yeah, radicalization, it's some people, they believe it's to be a radical, that means it's an ideology. And others, they believe it's a political attitude. I believe it's a mindset, someone just preparing a software, and then once it's been implemented in your mind, you will start to interpreting everything based on this radical action or behave. This is exactly what the jihadi leaders and groups, they do, and they do it very good. So I think to stop that, here we have to fight, if I may say, you know, in two fronts. The first one, it's too late now. You have to counter this ideology. It's too late. You have to do that, which is the work of, I think, many special establishments and agents and think tanks as well, and governments. And at the other front, I think democracy, it's very important here. That's why when we talk about de-radicalization as I think the most effective weapon, if you like, we can use against radicalization, but it should be a process, not a program. It should be process. When I say the process, it means including democratizing Middle Eastern societies. You know, democracy, it's very, very important element here.
That's fascinating. I asked you earlier before this show, at its height, how big the group was that you were working with in Libya. You said it was at its peak about 1,000. How many Shahzads are there around the world today in 2010? How many Jose Padillas? How many men and women are there, like you and I, who are radicalized and willing to wage terror?
Yeah, let me first say, I think we have more radical than jihadists. But thank God they are not active. They are not violent radicals. We should be aware of this. But we have few jihadists. And if you talk about people, they are willing to die and to kill themselves and take some people with them, you know, as they believe to the hellfire, because they're going to the paradise. This is what they've been told. I think we have few hundreds. Yeah, if they have a chance, they wouldn't have a second thought. They will do it. I'm sure about this. And it's been proven now for us. But the problem is about the people which already been radicalized in their political view, their, if I might say, the world view, the way how they see the world, to understand the world, you know, it's very, very radical. And if you put on top of that a religious element, it's really a deadly recipe or ingredient, if you like. So it's a real problem, and if you ask me honestly, I believe it will stay it will stay with us, you know, at least for the next 10 years. We can't fool ourselves and say, yeah, okay, it's done. No, it's a real problem, and it will face, I think, even the second generation, maybe, you know, to deal with it.
And with that, we're going to have to leave it there. We thank you very much indeed for joining us, Noman, from the Quillam Foundation these days, a think tank fighting terror. Thank you.